Hi, it's the second Saturday of February, and I just want to talk about thinning out these trees, because I showed a few videos of us pulling out trees because people had asked me to, and we are pulling out some trees. Just a little bit of an explanation about why. We've got 3 rows of Lord Lambournes here, and they've cropped very well for us indeed, but they've reached a stage where they were growing into each other somewhat, and so we're removing alternate trees, removing every other tree. Now in fact this gives them a slightly wider spacing than is absolutely ideal for the maximum fruit production from the orchard, but we're more interested in the optimum fruit production, and that allows for the fact that we're doing other things with our lives and you know, the economics of it all. I want to just read a bit from this book, Raymond Bush, fruit grower, but not before showing you the first primrose. Yes, the first primrose has appeared. Here we are at the end of the second week of February, and what's more, primrose is a bit early, but this is very much snowdrop time, and if you're going to plant an orchard you may as well make it as beautiful as you can on every level, and it's really nice to see these, and the hazel catkins as well. Anyway, just walking down to where I'm doing some quite drastic action in the Bramley section of the oldest part of the orchard. We're taking out most of our Bramleys. When we're not taking them out, we're grafting them over to cider apples, and I'll explain that a little bit more as I do it. But I'd just like to read a little bit from this Raymond Bush book. Planting distances, distances at which to plant. This is a very debatable point, and the amateur can with difficulty be persuaded to plant trees a good distance apart. To suggest that 12 feet apart is far too close for the average apple or plum tree may seem ridiculous when the baby tree is put in, but a few years later, when it is too late to remedy the matter, it becomes all too obvious. There is a definite minimum distance at which to plant, but there is no maximum. And the more space a tree is allotted, the better will be its performance. Wide planting encourages spreading growth. Close planting forces the branches of the trees upwards in a search for the light. And Bush writes elsewhere, moving large trees, fruit growers occasionally thin out a too closely planted orchard and replant an equal acreage with the moved trees. So you can do that. It's not relevant for us to do it. A, we don't have any more land. B, this is really a hobby orchard. It pays for itself, and there are many good reasons for doing it, but we're not a serious commercial. I wouldn't want anyone to think that this is how to plant or manage a serious commercial orchard. Bush wrote, I have seen 20-year-old Worcester pearmain bush trees moved 2 miles, dug up with as much roots as possible, moved 2 miles and replanted, and after a rest of 2 years they were cropping as well as ever. So this is a chap writing, I think about 1950, thereabouts. First published 1943 during the Hitler War, and there's Mr. Bush anyway. Fine book if you can get hold of one. Obviously out of print many years now, and just to show what I'm doing down here, which is a little bit drastic. We have a load of Bramleys here. We've got, well, sorry, to be consistent, we had a double row of Ribston pippin. We're growing too close together. This row is coming out. I've sawn the trees down. I'll be removing the trunks in due course. Now these are probably too heavy and deep-rooted to leave her out. These are nearly 20 years old, the way I showed you, so probably I'll be digging down to these and axing through the roots. Their neighbours will have more room to spread, so these trees will now have more room to spread. They're going to be easier to manage, and taking out every other tree, taking out 50% of the trees will not reduce the crop by 50%. It'll reduce it by probably no more than 40% in the first year, because these will simply have more room to grow, and probably will be getting 70% as much fruit from half of the number of trees in a few years. But here's something interesting I'm doing, and I'll return to this. This is a row of Bramley apples that were sawn down quite hard 2 years ago, and I've sent all of these shoots up. I've been working through these, and I put a few videos up last year about a Bramley, which is in this row, that I cut back hard. I'm going through this and I'm cutting out a certain number of these uprights, and I'm going to graft onto these. So these will be grafted over to cider apples. The reason for that is we just can't sell these Bramleys economically. We just can't make any money from them. This is what these were like. This is one before the treatment that the treatment line has had. And while we're on the subject, over here, here's the one that I thinned out. I put several videos up, which are still up, on this, sort of cutting out these water shoots. And so this I'm going to leave as a Bramley, mainly as a demonstration of the technique. And I intend to follow through here over the next couple of 3 years, all being well, just to give an idea of what's going on. Finally, I'll show you why we can't make a living from Bramleys. Well, not why we can't, but when we took our Bramleys to the market, we couldn't sell them. We grew a really good crop of Bramleys. Really good crop of Bramleys. And here, most of them never left the orchard, because we took them to market and people said, oh, I don't need any of your Bramleys because I've got a Bramley tree, or my neighbour's got a Bramley tree, we've got all the Bramleys we want. So that's absolutely fine. But it means they were passing a death sentence on these trees by saying that, which is okay, because, you know, if year after year we can't sell them because so many people have got Bramleys, then it's not an issue. They're a heritage apple, but they're not rare. They're very widely grown. So these trees have been cut back hard, and they're going to be grafted over to cider apples. So down here, instead of having about 40 Bramleys, we're going to have about 20 cider apples. Now, we don't make a lot of money from them, but they're not really any work. We have a friend who comes around and picks up the cider apples and pays us a modest amount for them, but at least it isn't a lot of work, and it creates quite a beautiful sort of place here. So better to have some cider apples and a little bit of income from them, and a widely spaced, very attractive orchard as a place you can, you know, come and enjoy being in at blossom time and that sort of thing. So anyway, I hope that makes a bit of sense, and people can see I'm not just cutting trees down because I like the feel, you know, of my axe, but for very sensible reasons, and I hope to demonstrate over a number of years, you know, why that's how that's working and why it was a sensible thing to do. So I hope that doesn't cover too many issues in one video, but all right, cheers.